Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Jade Garage Monday night live chat, stream, review, whatever we may want to call it. I don't know, but it is Monday, September 16th, 2024, and I hope you all had a good week and weekend this past 7 days before this day, because I do this on every Monday night if I can, unless there's some conflict and I can't be here. I've been doing this for I don't know how long now, several years, and there's quite the catalog of podcasts as this becomes of this live stream. So if you don't know that already, there is I guess a podcast, a playlist or whatever. I don't even know how that works, but if you want to hear me ramble on, you can do that with other past broadcasts of this live stream. So, if you're new to the live stream, which I hope many of you are, I do this again on Mondays, and I try to focus on what I consider classic cars. And that my bracket is 55 to 79 because I'm most familiar with those, and to me that kind of fits the classic genre at this point. There's a lot of other cars that were made after that are fantastic, or good cars. But I'm more familiar with those cars, and that's where I tend to stay. So, if you have something you want to talk about, if you want to bring up a subject matter, by all means, I encourage that. There are really usually no dumb questions. Sometimes there are some off the wall questions that I have trouble hoping or helping with, but a lot of times great questions and great subject matter. Now, if you do have a question and I try to answer it and I can't, or I don't have the information, there's a great group of people over in the chat box, and they generally have some really good information to bring up and talk about, or to share with everybody. So let's hope we have a good conversation, and we'll see what we can talk about tonight. Now, I will say this: the last video I did, I got my stool sitting crooked, messing with my feet. The last video I did was the my Mach 1. That was the first video or repair type of video that I did on that car, on this car right here. And I did that specifically because I was trying to eliminate some of the sheet metal that is floating around the shop. I've got all kinds of stuff, being that I have the Cobra Jet parts, the Mach 1 parts, the other Mach 1 parts, the 68 parts. There's all kinds of stuff in my way at this point. And I also have stuff stored in various other places. Now, mind you, I have two other Mustangs that are waiting, sitting outside under tarps. And also, of course, Jade. So you see that, Jade is the thumbnail for tonight. I did work on Jade to try to remedy a problem I had with the differential. And I thought I had maybe solved it, but I didn't. And it was, it ended up having a howling sound. And I took the differential back out, took it to a friend of mine who rebuilds stuff like that. And I said, just see if you can do something with it. So he looked it over, took it apart, and he determined that it needed carrier bearings, and the ring gear we knew it had some rust on it from sitting. But he said, you're better off replacing those and a carrier bearing. And I was like, I'm basically rebuilding the whole thing, and I don't necessarily want to do that. Now, I've looked online, and you can find 8-inch rear ends, 9-inch rear ends in various websites. And some of them, they talk about them being all rebuilt, and they'll ship them to you. One was up in Delaware, and I think I could have gotten a rebuilt 8-inch for like $600. And then, shipping or whatever. And various places have them. But I lucked out. And I ended up looking on Facebook Marketplace. And I found an original 67 differential. It was in a 67 Cougar. And the guy was getting rid of it. He had bought some other setup. And I made a good deal on it. So I managed to get it back in Jade, took it for a ride, no more noise. So I'm very happy with that. The goal is to be putting Jade up for sale and I'm trying to take care of anything that may be a problem for the future owner. It's one thing to do all this work, and if there's something that I don't trust or that I'm uncomfortable with, I don't feel right selling it to somebody else and saying good luck with that. It's just not right. So I'm trying to take care of all those, any little thing that's bothering me on that car, to know that when it goes to the next person, it's not going to have any problems. So let's see what we have, or who's in here tonight, and we'll discuss some more stuff moving forward. So let's see. First in tonight is Dave Tyson. Good evening, all. Evening, Dave. There's your reward bell for showing up. First Dave sighting, by the way. Terry Keithley. Hello, all. And Barry, please hit the like and thumbs up. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, it's important you do that. If you want to help keep this active or whatever, hit the thumbs up, and hopefully other people show interest and will join us. Thank you, Terry. I had to give you a bell. You get another bell if I didn't give you one. Robert checking in. Evening, all. Summer's still here for another couple weeks. Still mid to high 90s here. He's in Texas, so it's been really nice weather here, and I'm taking advantage of that, of course, trying to get paint work prepped up for the Cobra Jet. But one other thing I did just today, other than putting the differential back into Jade, I fixed my lawnmower because I haven't been able to mow for a couple weeks, and got that fixed, mowed the yard. There's always something to do. There's always something to do. It's never just sit around. But glad you're here, Robert. Troy Justice, greetings from a cloudy and cool coastal Georgia. I couldn't stop admiring your red rear end. Thank you, Troy. Appreciate that. Okay, so you want to know what he's talking about? I'll show you. Here's the differential in Jade. So initially when I'd put in the other one, I painted everything black. I really didn't do, due diligence on what color was where and whatnot. So I just painted all black, because that's the standard for everybody, just paint it black. Well, when I got this one and I was cleaning it up, I noted real quick that there was a lot of red still on it. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So I cleaned it all up, painted it red, put it in, and there you go. Now you get to see my red rear end. Yeah, I'm very happy right now because it's not making any noise, and that's a big plus at this point. A big plus. Jerry's Garage, the Money Pit. Okay, I guess he's saying something. Evening, all, from Middle Tennessee. I know how that is. I've got fingers that don't do what I want them to do. There you. Oh, here it is. Good from Middle Tennessee. We're getting closer. I think he's saying good evening, all, from Middle Tennessee. Glad you're here, Jerry. Appreciate you. Travis Holtman, #1 patron. Evening, all. Evening, Travis. Glad you're here. The bowler hat guy, David. Good evening, all. I hope your weather is as nice as mine. It has been very nice. Glad you're here. Very, very nice weather. I'm actually looking forward, as much as I don't like to paint, I'm actually looking forward to getting primer and finish the bodywork and get paint on the Cobra Jet. I also, it's funny when you start doing these things to get you in preparation for, let's say, the paint process. And I stress it all the time about test fitting all the pieces and parts. I can't stress it enough. And I've done all that. At least I'm pretty confident that I've done it for the whole vehicle now. What I ran into was there's an item that I need to take care of. Actually, there was several items. So the next video I have coming out, it's going to be kind of bouncing all over the place. I try to focus on one piece or part of a vehicle when I'm working on it, but the next video is going to have segments of stripping paint. It's going to have segments of fixing the side vent. It's going to have other segments where I do this or that or the other. And, it's just because I'm going to make a video that's long enough that it gives you some information, but also there's a lot of little things that I'm addressing. And I realized that today or yesterday, as I was looking at the doors one more time, that I forgot to do something. And I'm glad I caught it. And I still have to address that. It's the hole in the front of the door for the wire bundle. You know, these cars had lights on the door panel. And so there's a wire bundle, and the hole is huge on those things. And I was like, you know what? I didn't make the hole in the door. So that's another thing that I have to address just to take care of all these sort of things. And that's why I'm always, I don't know, double checking. I want to make sure everything is addressed before it's finally done. I don't need to have a problem as I'm going through it, you know, or putting the stuff together. So just keep note of those sort of things. Yeah, but glad you're here, David. The Dutchman's Wood Shack. Hello from Geneva, Illinois, USA. Glad you're here, Dutchman. And he says, Mustang's running okay, just have an issue with power steering system still. Yeah. I mean, there's always something that needs to be worked out. I'm not sure what kind of system you have in it. I know I have the Borgeson set up in Jade and haven't seen any problems with it. But I'm sure there's something that can be done to fix what's going on with it. Rusty's Restoration, hello Barry and all. I'm glad you had a chance to get some work done on the Mach 1. Thumbs up. Yes. Yeah, I was trying not to get too excited about that. You know, obviously there's not a lot to do on this car, the way I look at it. I mean, there's a couple dents up here in the roof that are pretty minor, and other than that back section, there's not a whole lot that needs to happen. And I don't want to get too excited about it and try to rush through the process. So getting that wheelhouse in there was a good first step. And mocking up the quarter panel, of course, was a good step. But I could have easily said, oh, let's go cut this thing and start welding and hope for the best. Nope. Take a step back. Make sure I've got everything addressed on the inside the way that I want it. And then move forward. You know, it's easy to get ahead of yourself and try to get too much done too quickly. And I don't want to do that. So thank you, Russ. Jay Living. Hey, Barry, out here working on my son's 67 Mustang Coupe. Awesome. Hope he's with you. That's important. Harvey, Raleigh Cat Garage. Hello, Barry. Finally home on a Monday night to catch your show. Happy Monday. Thank you, Harvey. Glad you made it. James, My Mustang Garage. Good evening, everyone. I hope all are well. I think so. Hope you're well as well. Well. Jay Living, turning wrenches and listening to you. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Let's see. Evan's Messy Garage. Hey, Barry and everyone. Great to see progress on your Mach 1. Yes. Thank you, Evan. It is. And I'm looking forward to getting more done on it. And it's going to be one of those where I just kind of piece it in. You know, I've already said it before. This isn't the priority. Obviously, the Cobra Jet is first, and then other cars are ahead of this one. So if I can get something done, even if it's just a little bit, it's going to help to make it drivable sometime in the future. The Dutchman, did the car show gig this weekend? Oh, did the car show gig this weekend? One in Cantigny, Illinois, and the other one was at a church. Was great, but hot weekend. Okay. I hope it went well. And he also says, hi, everyone. Jerry is checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. Hope you have a good stream and learn lots about cars. Well, let's hope we learn something. Let's hope we can share enough information that somebody gains something out of it. The Dutchman, how far out are you on working on a Mustang? I have issues with my power steering and can't figure it out. I don't, as far as me working on somebody else's car, that's kind of hard to say. That's really hard to say. I mean, I don't know what the what's going on with your steering, and maybe you maybe share some information with us. Maybe we can help you resolve that tonight. Um, Tell us what kind of system you have, what it's doing, and let us go from there. But I don't know when I would be available directly. Let's see. C&J Hoyt, good evening all. What's your go-to primer that you like to use, and where do you get it? I've ordered up my epoxy black to start with, and thinking I should go with the white high build. Um, well, I've always used PPG products. I say always. There's one I have used. It was on parts of Jade, I think. I used some epoxy from Summit. Had no issue with it. Sprayed fine, worked fine, no problems. But typically I use PPG. Now, here's the difficulty with PPG. Their products are getting extremely expensive, from what I understand. I have not bought anything from them in a while, and it's difficult to justify going to the PPG rep or store and, let's say, buying sandpaper or DA paper or chemicals, when unfortunately or fortunately you can go to, like, Amazon, order the same stuff for 2/3 of the price, delivered to your house. I mean, I understand they have a business, they're going to stay in business, they're going to keep making money, but it's hard to turn away from the Amazon products and say, oh, well, they've got the same Merca DA paper, I'm going to get some of that because it's cheaper and it's delivered to my door, versus going to the PPG store. Along with that, PPG has been raising their prices on their chemicals, and I know that part of that is justified with the cost of everything going up. But at this point, I still have PPG products, so that's what I'm going to use, and I will use them probably until they run out, and then go from there and make a decision. There are, I can't think of the names. Ascon Noble, I think, is one of the names. There's a variety of other paint products out there, but I really haven't used much of those other than when I did some collision work, like on the little Honda Civic that I rebuilt. That wasn't PPG. That was the other store stuff, and it was fine. It did what it needed to do. So something like that, I don't go to the PPG store. I go to get the lesser name brand stuff, and it works fine. So anyway, that's, hope that answers your question in some sense. But there are obviously products out there that will compete or do as well, I should say, as PPG. Good question. Craig Morrell, I did the same. Okay. Not sure exactly what maybe you're talking about. Maybe the quarter panel or the wheelhouse. I don't know. But glad you're here, Craig. Steve Reed checking in from Paducah, Kentucky. Hello, Barry and everyone. Hello, Steve. Oh, Craig Morrell says, I just painted a 6.7 Fairlane. It was 83 degrees. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the temperature is just right now and kind of in the sweet spot of where we need to be. And that's why I'm striving to get stuff moving on the Cobra Jet. I would like to have at least some epoxy sprayed by the end of this week, whether it's on the doors or the main body or both. I've got to get that process going. So there's quite a few things that are taking place. Rick Stevenson, hello everyone. Greetings from Costa Rica. Well, glad you're here, Rick. I should also mention Rick stopped in last week. Actually had a nice visit with him. Mr. Mikey, have you ever thought about writing a super detailed restoration book on the early Mustangs? I can't say that I haven't. The difficulty is I don't know that I have the time. There's lots of little detail stuff that gets looked over or missed by people. And that's a great idea. I just don't know how I would pull that off. You know, obviously I have to have some sort of a start point, and something like that I think would have to have pictures and details, and it would take a lot of effort. I'll say that. So I haven't really considered it any more than anything else. I guess for me, I'm kind of documenting all that stuff with video, and I don't know if would there even be a benefit to doing some sort of a book format. Are there many people that are even using the book format anymore? I don't know, but interesting question. Thank you. Oh, Terry Keith says Barry PPG white is $500 a gallon. Yeah, yeah. You're talking about the high build. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that is getting up there in price, um, and it's difficult to say that's what I want to spend money on, right? Now, granted, there's value in using product lines that all share the same chemical base or whatever. But I know in what I've done with, I had that epoxy from Summit, and I sprayed on top of that with PPG, and it didn't care. It didn't care at all. Once it was dry, it doesn't care. Um, so yeah, it's hard to justify those costs sometimes. And like I said, I have a fairly decent supply right now of PPG products, and uh, I'll use them up and see what happens. David, I'm not familiar with bodywork and paint. How difficult is it to get a nice two-tone paint job? It's not that difficult. Um, it depends on what you're looking for. Now, if you're looking for, when you say two-tone, something that has a straight split line, that's not hard. But something that has multiple layers of design, that becomes very difficult. Oh, because especially if you're like, stripes are okay. Stripes aren't that big a deal. But if somebody's wanting to make a patternized something, making the mirror image, if you're looking at that, is difficult, especially if somebody doesn't have access to like a printer, big printer deal or something. So that can be difficult. But if you're looking at just a split body line somewhere or something along those lines, it's not too bad. You just have to know kind of where you're at with the process, what you're trying to come up with. So I get Rick's here, so I got to get a drink. I had forgotten to take my drink of coffee. I'm surprised Rick Gain isn't here yet. Let's see. James, two-tone can be tricky for beginners, getting the two colors to be level and smooth. Ford didn't care. They just vinyl tape line the two-tone. Yeah. Well, I was just looking at somebody when I was working on my Mach 1, and I was talking about overlaying the panels and cutting the panel and putting it back together. Some people were freaking out over that, because they're like, do the whole thing or don't do any of it. Well, I agree with that for the most part. But the value of keeping the upper half of the quarter meant more to me than separating all that stuff and losing those lines. Now, as you're talking about these lines, and having these different things going on, I was looking at some pictures we did of a '69 Chevelle back when we had the body shop, and that was a car. There's a couple things here. One, I did the same thing on a Chevelle quarter panel, and that Chevelle quarter panel is longer overall, a straight line, than the Mustang quarter panel. So, some people were talking about, oh, don't do it that way because of this or that or the other. Well, that I just know that I can do it because I've done it before, and I'm trying to see if I have any of those pictures. I'll set them up. But Well, along with that, on that particular car, we had elected to, or they wanted SS stripes on it, which was a little kind of a narrow stripe, and they wanted that on that car. So what we did was we bought the stencil, and the car was going to be black, and so we painted the car silver because the stencil was supposed to be silver, and then we laid the stripe down the side of the car, and then peeled off the decal, and then painted it black. Let's take that back. Hold on. We painted it silver, laid the decal, painted it black, and then peeled the decal, and then clear coated it, and everything just layered up so nice. I'm gonna pull up those pictures and show you. So depending on what you're doing, clear coat can hide that overlap as well. And then why did not send yet? Hold on. Well, it should have sent. It should have sent. So, let me see if I could do this. Try this again. It'll probably send now that I'm resending it to myself. Okay. But the clear coat can hide a lot of that overlap. Okay. Now the car turned out really, really nice. In fact, the owner was kind of disappointed that it turned out too nice. He was he had not wanted it to be as nice as it was, but it was a super nice looking car. I'm gonna pull up those pictures. Let me see if I can. So I'll show you what I'm talking about on this. So here's a picture. This is way back, I don't know, 2007, 8, something like that. Let me pull off the comment here for a second. And that was the full quarter. In fact, I left the weld seam or spot welds up in the front. I did not even did not separate those. And then I think this picture shows that there's the really the first swipe of filler, and it didn't take much. It just didn't take much. And then of course, after painting it, it ended up looking like this. And so that stripe that's on the side of that car, I know it's hard to see in this picture, but that's painted, that's buried in the clear coat, and it turned out just super nice. So whenever somebody's like, I can't, it's too much work to do this or too much work to do that, and here it is going to Wi-Fi again. There it is. Okay, it's back. But really, you just take your time and you can make that stuff happen. Now, again, same way with the stripes or the two-tone, whatever the colors may be. I've seen people do a split line on a body line, right? I've seen them do them on the upper half of the car and the lower half of the car, up at the top of the fenders. So it depends on what you're looking for as far as the two-tone. So he's mentioning here nothing fancy, just straight lines. Yeah, I'd have to see what you have in mind. It's doing that weird Wi-Fi thing again. Should not be doing that. Hope this is working. I can't tell. All right, let's move on. So Clark is here. Clark Clifford's checking in. Hi, Barry. Whoops, wait a minute. There we go. Hi, Clark. Glad you showed up. James, guys are spoiled in the 80s, either used used sheet metal, patch panels, or completely fabricated. Plus, in a day, only the lower half of the car were problems. Yeah, yeah, and it's it's unfortunate that while I can appreciate the full quarter that's available for these cars, uh, sometimes there's a good trade-off. It doesn't necessarily have to be do all of that, you know. And in this case, if you take out the quarter all the way up to the roof line, you lose a lot of things. You lose the little rivet studs for the clips on the side, and you also lose, like in this case, it has the Mach 1 or Mustang emblem on the side of the roof. You lose those studs as well, and so that's something that has to be dealt with one way or another. That's one problem that's going to happen later on with the Cobra Jet. I say problem. It's not that difficult. There's no studs on the quarter panel. And there's no, I don't think there's any studs up around the roof either. Now, the fix for that is going to be going back to the old style clips that they used in 64, which were the screw-in clips versus the studded clips. And so that's just the way it's going to have to be. I don't have anything to put that stuff on there. And I don't know, I don't even know if they make that, to put the stud on. But I'm not gonna fight with that. Nick Moss checking in. Hello, Nick. Glad you're here. Whoops. Dave Conville. Good evening, all. Good evening, Dave. James on YouTube channel, Fritzy's Fabrication is awesome for metal fabrication. Yep, he does a good job. And I bought a welder that welds on those studs. Okay. I did. I haven't really. If you send me a link to that if you have it, so I know what I'm looking at. Because ideally, I would like to address that on the Cobra Jet, but I don't have any options. I don't. I mean, I've got a little stud gun, but that's kind of backwards. That puts the stud on the end of it versus the little nub on the outside. So that's just one of those things that has to be or will need to be addressed in one way or another. Now, one of the other things I wanted to talk about, and I posted pictures about this. There was I bought a product, Evercoat aluminum putty or aluminum filler, and the product that they offer, it says right in the instructions, right on their website, that this is meant to fill in the void where your seams or your leaded seams would have been. Now, the product also says you go directly to bare metal, and I get that. If you look at body fillers, they tell you go directly to bare metal. I've done it both ways. I've done it to where I've sprayed epoxy and then applied filler and haven't had an issue. I've done it where I put filler directly to metal and haven't had an issue. Now, what I find funny is this product is, something Evercoat sells, and I don't know if I have the can up here or not. Let me look. Yeah. So this is a can of stuff. Contour, aluminum filled compound. Says it right on the can. Excellent for metalworking, flexible, will not sag, superior corrosion resistance and adhesion. Right, and then it talks about its use, and it talks about filling in for where the seams are. And I bought some of this to give it a shot, and so far, I mean, I thought it was pretty nice. Like it's kind of like icing. It's not real super thick. It's kind of creamy, and it pushes into those spaces really easily. Now the stuff is dry. It's dried pretty hard. It is. I mean, it says flexible. I don't know how flexible that it may be, but it says it's flexible. Now, the people that saw those pictures, they were like, "Oh, you're going to have dissimilar metal corrosion. It's going to fall off. It's going to do this. It's going to do that." And the thing is, and I've talked about this before. These cars that were built back in the '60s were put together with panels that didn't even have primer on them, welded together, painted, and sent out the door. And good luck with that, right? And so they all rusted. They all had problems. And we, over the course of time, have rebuilt these cars, replaced panels, added seam sealer, done all these things to make things right and waterproof and tight, and all these different levels of effort we put into these. The odds of this car ever even getting wet again are almost zero. I mean, that's the reality of it. That people act like you're going to park this thing out next to the ocean and just let it go. You know, they don't, their mind just doesn't process the way the way I think about it. If I'm investing all this money and effort and time into rebuilding one of these cars, it's not meant to be a daily driver. Some people do, but it's not meant to be a daily driver. It's not meant to go out in the weather. It's not meant to be driven to the beach and whatever. Maybe it is. Maybe we'll drive it to the beach. These are pleasure cars. They're meant to be, you know, we drive them to car shows. Some actually use them, and I kudos to them. But we don't, they're not treated anywhere near like they were back in the day. And yeah, these people are losing their minds over this. Now, dissimilar metal corrosion is a real thing. However, it's more based on actual metal, not body fillers, not a substrate with aluminum in it. You know, it's totally a different world. But I can't get over how many people are like, oh, this is going to pop off in a year. You know, it's like, if you had that problem, what that means is you didn't do your preparation work right. I've had people talk about this stuff. In the heat, it swells up. I don't think so. And they could see a line where it had swelled up and created a line on the side of their car. That tells me you didn't do your bodywork right. You did not prep it correctly. So my thinking, again, I'm using this to fill the void or the where the lead would go, but this isn't my final product. This is just to fill it. This is just to give it a base of material. It's a little stronger. It's got aluminum in it, and it's going to hold better. Now, all that stuff, I have welded the full thing. It's not going anywhere. If something were to happen, I mean, I don't even know how you would separate this stuff now because of the way I put it together, right? So, once this stuff is on there, and I've already started sanding it down, but I'm not. This isn't the final product. I will go back over it with my Rage Ultra and smooth that stuff out. Any other voids that are there will all get smoothed out, and the end result is going to be regular body filler. And all these people are like, oh, you got to put epoxy on first. You got to do this first. You got to do that first. No, you don't. No, you don't. They're losing their minds over nothing. You know, I'm not driving these cars across the country every day. It's not happening. So anyway, let me get off my little step stool. Robert, we were talking about the studs. He says there are also screw-in studs. You can get studs for the dent stud welders as well. Okay. I haven't, all I know is in 64 they used the screws to hold the clips. So any links to any of that stuff, send it to me. I'll take a look at it, and we'll see what may work. Because I still have time to address that, but I'm not stressing over it. Evan, if you're talking about the window trim, if you want to get crazy, the right size common nail is identical to those studs. I determined it was too much trouble to cut and weld those nails. Yeah, the window trim studs. Yep, exactly. Nick, anyone know the factory drivetrain offset? Factory drivetrain offset for early Mustang. You talking about, like, what are you talking about? The pinion angle? Is that what you're talking? I don't know. Maybe a little more detailed. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, Nick. Richard, good evening, Barry. I hope you're doing well. Well, thank you, Richard. Likewise. Let's see. Troy Justin, I bought some of that from Eastwood, but haven't used it yet. It looked like it went on good. It did, and like I said, it was like icing. It went on, like there's some voids and stuff, and I scrape hard over those voids to fill those first, and then come back over with the filler, in more of a pile up type of way, and it went on. It was almost like too easy, meaning when you take your putty knife or putty blade or whatever, and you're pressing on it, it's so smooth that it kind of wants to push it out, if that makes sense. When you're using something like Rage Ultra, you're pushing on it, putting pressure on that pile of filler, and it tends to flow underneath the blade and smooth out. So I had to change my approach a little and just I curved the paddle a little and just kind of scooped it along more laid back at an angle rather than kind of straight up, if that makes sense. So yeah, it went on really, really easy. Dave Tyson, no snow or salt. Yeah. I mean, these cars are not. When was the last time you saw anything like this out driving in the snow, in the stormy weather? Never. That's not your first choice. That car's going to sit in the garage, and you're going to drive your daily driver, and if it takes the damage, you're happy. Michael Pagliarini, evening all. Still struggling with getting the fenders and doors to fit. Any suggestions? That's a wide open question. Let's answer this question first. Right? Get this answered first. What your car? Are the fenders original? Are they aftermarket? Are the doors original? Are the doors aftermarket? Narrow all that down for us, and then we'll see what we can maybe come up with. But good question. I hope. Glad you're here. Papa Joe's Garage. Hello from St. Augustine. Hello, Papa Joe. Nice to have you. It looks like you've got some sort of fastback in your thumbnail. Evan, yeah, I think the filter would essentially encapsulate the aluminum. I don't think it'll be a problem. Oh, I don't think it will be either. It's just crazy how many of these people are losing their minds over this. James, internet experts are a dime a dozen. I wish everyone figured out one thing. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Ask a Haitian in Springfield, Ohio. Gosh. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. Okay. He sent a video of stud being installed with part numbers. Okay. I'll take a look at that later on and do a review on that, see what may work. Oh, he says, I'll send you the video. Okay, sounds good. Robert, I think he's asking the offset to the side of the car. GM is generally offset 5/8 of an inch to the passenger side for weight balance, as you generally only have the driver in the car. Okay. And Nick says, no, the pinion is offset, but the whole drivetrain is in the car for more driver room. It has it, and I get conflicting info when I look it up. I have a reason for wanting to know it. Okay. So I don't know. So you're looking at the actual, so as Robert's saying, offsets to the side of the car. So you're talking about the engine inline based on the center line of the car. Is the engine and transmission offset slightly, and how much so? Is that the correct question? Is that what we're looking at? Maybe somebody has the answer. I don't know about that. I don't know what the answer is, but I understand what you're saying. So Nick's trying to find out how much. I'm assuming the drivetrain, engine, and transmission are offset, probably to the right. Should be offset to the right. Michael, my neighbor gave me a box of those studs and screw in. He works for Glass America. Oh, okay. That's cool. Troy, good advice. I will try to remember that, how you spread it when the time comes. Okay. Robert, my first thought on that filler is corrosion, but there are lots of products out there that your first instinct is that's odd or shouldn't be right, but often there's more to the product and process. Yeah. And I'm just saying that as I posted about this, there were people that were commenting that they had an aluminum-based filler that they used 30 years ago, and they still don't have a problem. So I don't think I don't think Eastwood is going to put out a product like this that it may actually cause problems. I wouldn't think they would do that. Their reputation is on the line. Michael, 65 all dynacorn fenders, door and quarters. Okay. So, I'm going to have to point you towards some videos. Go back to the Brooklyn Pony videos and have a look at them. One of those videos, I talk about in particular the passenger side fender, and it said dynacorn on the box. Whether it's actually dynacorn, I don't know. I don't know what they're producing right now. To me, anything dynacorn, I say this kind of loosely, anything dynacorn will have a silver finish, right? Because they put that weld-through primer on. Now, they should not be putting that on the doors or the fenders. And the dynacorn doors that I have for Cobra Jet, they're black. But they are different than the NPD doors and the original doors. Okay? Now, the fenders, as I pointed out in the Brooklyn Pony videos, it said dynacorn on the box. It was the generic box that was really just a wrapper. It was a cardboard, they fold it over and they have the twisty ropes on it and stuff like that. And so it said dynacorn on that box. But it wasn't dynacorn. It was whatever generic brand produced it, and dynacorn just put their name on it and charged more for it. And then it was the same problems as everything else. Now, what I ran into in particular on the Brooklyn Pony car was the fenders were not assembled correctly. They had welded them together wrong, and they would not fit the way they were supposed to. I actually had to go back in, drill out the spot welds, and address that fender, make changes to the fender just to make it fit the car the way it should. So while we're on that subject, one of the things I would like for you to do, you can send me pictures if you want, that'd be great. But if you'll go look at the extension that fits the fender in the front and see how that lines up with the fender itself. That's probably give you some more idea as to the quality of the fender. And I say that because I had to reshape those fenders just so the extensions fit right. So there's a lot of things that are not being done correctly on these fenders. I don't know anything about the doors. I don't know if they're making their own. I really don't have an answer on that. But I can see where there could be a conflict if, even though it says dynacorn, it may not really be a dynacorn. Just saying. So, again, if you want to send me some pictures or something, that would be great. But I don't know what I can tell you. Nick says yes, and should be set to the right. Yeah, talking about the drive line, the engine and transmission. James, Michael watched the Brooklyn Pony plays for door defender and quarter gaps. Barry did step by step. Yes. Yeah, there's some really good information on that car because there was a lot of things, as we all know, that just don't fit, and that's again why I pointed out the 70 Mach 1 that I bought. I'm super excited about it just because I got mint front fenders for this car. I'm really excited about that deal. But the nothing fits like original, we all know. But there's so much I had to do on that Brooklyn Pony car just to make that fender work the way it was supposed to work. Robert, I started the final alignment of the 66 doors and fenders and videoing it before hurting my back again. It's much better now, but I'm not doing anything until we get back from vacation. Okay. And David, wouldn't the offset be determined by the rear end, short side, long side? No, not necessarily. If you look at the transmission tunnel, I think you'll see that the tunnel itself is slightly off. Now, like Robert was saying, GM went 5/8 of an inch. So the center line of the engine was 5/8 of an inch to the right. And that was to compensate for weight. You know, assuming a X driver, whatever, weighed so much and this and that and the other. Now, the differentials, I was just looking at, let me see if, I don't know if I can point that out in this picture or not. You can see the differential center on this particular, on the yoke, is offset to the right. So when you're looking at the chunk, the drive shaft is actually to the right a little bit. And part of that is they can't put it dead center. Or if they did put it dead center, it would be at the bottom altogether and wouldn't work as well. But I think part of that offset deals with the fact that the engine and transmission are shifted to the right slightly. So I don't know if we have a good way to answer Nick's question. I guess if somebody had an original car sitting and they could measure maybe the center line of the carburetor, you know, the post, for, you know, measure left to right. I don't know if you could get something from the fenders, come across to the center. I don't know if that would work or not, but there's definitely some sort of number. And I don't know what that number needs to be. I don't know, but I understand what you're asking now. Okay. But yeah, the progress is coming along really good on the Cobra Jet. There's a few other things that I'm detailing that, you know, a month or two ago, 2 months ago, whatever it was, I cut the hole in the hood for the shaker hood, and I got that piece of metal in my eye, right? So I kind of got away from doing stuff for a little bit. But recently I thought, you know what? There's I got the hood pins to deal with. You know, I have this hood sitting on my Mach 1 with the scoop and all, and the 69 had the hood pins. And I thought, oh no, I didn't do the hood pins. So what I ended up doing was I brought the old hood in, and I made a video on this. I measured off where the center line of the holes were, front to back and right to left, and also from the center of the hood. And then instead of drilling the hole to size, what I ended up doing was I just made a pilot hole. And the reason for that is the pin is, I believe, about a 1/2 inch. And the hole is like probably 3/4 of an inch. I mean, it may even be bigger than that. I know I could probably put my thumb in that hole. Yeah. So it's probably closer to an inch itself for the hole. So, you know, initially you think, okay, I'll make the hole direct to size. Well, the problem is when you're doing this sort of thing and you're putting the hood on, if you've already pre-drilled those holes and something is slightly off, you might have committed to something that you didn't really want to do. So I just made the pilot holes, and what I'll do is I'll get the hood on the car, get everything lined up, bring the hood down, have the pins in place, and watch and see where it hits the hole. And then if the pin is slightly off one way or the other, if I can adjust it, I will. But along with that, I can take the hole itself and enlarge it one side or the other. I can move them way or closer to center. And that way I've got the pins in the right place. You know, at the factory, I don't know what they did. I don't know if they had the holes. They would have had to, I think they would have had to have the holes before they painted, I would think. There's all these hoods have an opening, a hole in the substructure that lines up on that pinhole. So I don't know how they would have done it at the factory, because they had to figure out where that pin needed to be, or they knew in general. They probably had a template of some sort. But the the holes have to be, they should be centered as best they can. But that's something else that I wanted to work on. So here we go. So Robert pointed out that you don't want the U-joints in line with each other. You need an offset to make the joint live longer and eliminate odd vibrations. Yes. James, scam alert, seen people taking new sheet metal, stripping them, painting red oxide, then putting a couple scratches, leave outside, let the oxide fade, and scratch the surface rust, and hand stamping them. I sure hope not. I sure hope not. I detailed the differences on aftermarket fenders versus original fenders on Jade. I did a video for them, in particular on a 68, and I don't know if I did it on the 69 stuff that I have. That would really be dirty if somebody's doing that. That would really be dirty. And I'd be so upset. Of course, I feel like I would probably recognize their aftermarket or not. And also point this out, that if you are looking at those fenders, look for stamp codes. They should all have a stamp code. Even if they're a reproduction Ford fender from the 70s, they should have a stamp code on them. They should. So, but thank you for that, James. That would be really dirty for somebody to do that. Richard Berry, where do you get your auto body supplies from? Well, I was buying everything from a PPG rep. I was. Lately, I think I've bought stuff off of Amazon. I use Mirka paper in a lot of cases. I like the Mirka. So I know I bought some of that straight off of Amazon. I've got my product list on my Amazon page, stuff that I've bought and used. So if you're looking for that, there's a description down below for the Amazon stuff. But almost everything I bought from the PPG store. But lately I've been using Amazon because it's cheaper overall. The reality for me is the PPG store is 25 miles away, so I have to drive over there to get the stuff, pay more for it, and then drive back. So I'm burning fuel, I'm burning time, and I'm paying more for a product when I could just go to Amazon and get the exact same thing. So that's kind of how I've been doing things. Now, the normal like paint products and all that, I've already got an inventory of PPG stuff that I'll use up, and then I'll see what happens from there. There's a variety of paint stores out there you can buy. Like Robert has said, you can order paint online now that is suitable. Maybe not the best quality as PPG, I can't say, but there's other companies out there that are selling things. So just have to do some research. Good question, though. Thank you, Richard. Evan, just eat more or fewer Rig Max to balance the car. At least I think my trans tunnel was centered in my 67, but who knows how original things were. Yeah. C&J, Nick, do you want measurements on rear end springs to center of pinion? Not sure that's what he's looking for, but maybe Nick will chime back in. Clark, everything I've read says from dead center to 1/2 inch or so to the right. I don't think it's intentional. I don't know. I mean, they're known to do that sort of thing to try to bounce the car a little bit. So 1/2 inch or so to the right. Michael, I don't have the fender extensions yet. I had to cut the upper hinge mounting point. It wasn't even in the same zip code. Yeah. Yeah, they're rough. All that stuff is so difficult. Robert Bloxham. Hello, all. Hello, Robert. Glad you made it. Papa Joe. Passenger fender was replaced at some point. No rust, but didn't fit the car at all. Drove out to Houston last week to pick up an NOS service part. An original Ford box. Fender is bare metal. That seems odd. That seems really odd. I've never seen a new old stock part that didn't have something on it. So I hope you got what you paid for. I really hope you do, because I've never seen a new product, a new original anything that didn't have primer on it of some sort. So Robert says, Clark Wholesale Paints is one that I buy from. They are in OKC, I guess Oklahoma City, maybe. But they ship and go to the swap meets. Best selection of any paint supply I have been to, and they have prices on everything. Meaning they have published prices on the products on display. Yeah, okay, Oklahoma City. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of times you go to a paint store and they don't even have a price on something. They just put it on a shelf and figure you're going to pay whatever we tell you it costs. And many times that's right. That's all you end up with. And Robert says, yep. And Richard, thank you, Robert and Barry. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've had good luck. The red oxide, I'm reading ahead. The Merca products, I like the sanding paper I use from them. I also have, let me just grab a couple sheets. I think I've got some 3M products, and I think I have these listed on Amazon. So let me just grab those real quick. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm still here. So, essentially, like, I use 100 grit sandpaper a lot. So this is a 3M. There's the part number. 50 sheets in here. 50 sheets. So everything I start with, I'm really using 100 grit. I don't use 80 or 40 or anything like that. I start with 100 when I'm doing body work. But that's for my block sanding and all that sort of thing. But again, I'm pretty sure that I bought this off of Amazon. Pretty sure. And then the Merca stuff, Merca is a brand name. I'm not sure where these are made, but it says made in Finland. Made in Finland. And they tend to have some really good sandpaper. But I think, again, I've bought this off of, I may have bought some from PPG, but I think the last batch of stuff that I got was from Amazon. To me, it's worth it. I just order it and get it to show up at my door, and I don't have to go anywhere. I know some people hate Amazon. I get it, but it's hard to beat the system. Okay. So James says NOS was red oxide with date stamp and part number stencil on the inside. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I have on the 60 or the 70 with the 69 fenders that I just got. Papa Joe, it is perfect in every way. The guy had several of them. Well, that's surprising. So, like I said, I'm hoping it's as accurate as it's supposed to be. There's, like James is saying, there's people trying to scam people. But Robert, Merca is the best bang for the buck. If you need fancy stuff, the 3M Cubitron is really good stuff too, but pricey. Okay. Thank you for that. Evan, anyone ever used Eastwood paints? I haven't. At least not yet. I don't know if I will. I know I use the I have that body filler, and then the other stuff is that I really like, and I know it's all sprayed over right now, but the Evercoat Rage. I know you can't read it. I use this to hold up something that I painted white. But this is Evercoat Rage Ultra. I know you can't read it. What's the point? But I really like that stuff. The price has gone up on that quite a bit too. That used to be like $40 or a gallon, and now it's like probably $100. But still, it's good stuff. But no, I have not tried Eastwood paint, so I can't give you a reference on that. Robert, Merck is a big supplier in Europe and sell high-end sanders as well. Okay. And James, I only use 3M wet and dry after 400 and finer. Yep. I mean, when I start doing body filler, 100 grits, first thing I go with. Because I already know I'm going to apply at least one round of filler and probably go up from there. So it's quicker for me to knock it down and expose any kind of flaws. And then I have good deep scratches that I can clean out and wipe with a second coat, and it's going to, grip in there pretty well. James, I was told Eastwood paint is too soft, buffed, super easy, but but too soft to be durable. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't tried, I don't think, any paint at all from Eastwood. Anything. I've been tempted to, I think the only other product that I've used away from PPG was like Hot Rod Black that Summit sells. That I may end up having to get some of that to do the eventual stripes on the, or the hood, blackout hood on the Mach 1 or Mach 1s and the Cobra Jet. Nick, engine and transmission trying to fab something for someone, but stuff is all super modified. Okay. Oh, and unfortunately they do not live near me. Oh, that does make it a challenge. I'm not sure what you're trying to make, Nick, or if you want to share what you're trying to make. Yeah, if you're trying to build an engine mount, or if you're trying to build some sort of reinforcement, I would say you try to make it so that it can be adjustable or something, but that may not be possible. And the variable, like Clark was saying, center to a half inch offset. I don't know how you're going to justify what those measurements can be, especially if they've done, a lot of modifications. There may not be an answer. That almost sounds like something that needs to be in front of you so you can build a template and then build whatever they want to make. But doing something remotely, I don't think I'd even tackle that. I've had people ask me to build them things before, like that. Like, can you build me one of these or build me one of these? I said, well, I can, but I can't say it's going to fit your car because I don't even know if it's built the same. So I don't take that chance. But yeah, it sounds like you're in a difficult spot, Nick. Difficult spot. Okay, so as I was saying, the plan is to finish out the seams in the roof, sand that down, get the Evercoat on it, and I think once I get the A-pillars and the roof sail panel, all that done, basically the body itself from the firewall back, so really A-pillars and back is ready, essentially ready for primer. And the other thing I have to do, I know, is strip the underside of, I think I'm going to strip the underside of the deck lid. Now that just reminds me, that's another thing I need to address. That car has, supposed to have a wing on it. So I'm going to have to, make the holes for that wing to be in the right spot. So I'm glad you brought that up. Something else I need to address. James, hold on. Michael, will you shop line on the auto sales cars? Yeah. And James, painting season's coming up. What do you do to filter your airlines to keep it free from water and oils? I actually have a paint booth water separator and filter on my paint booth. It's an older unit. It's something we had on the paint booth at the body shop, and then we got a bigger, newer system, and so I kept that stuff. So it's got a replaceable cartridge for the water separator and another one for the oil. So that's actually what I have in the paint booth. Nick, hey, I'm way behind. I saw something about a 70 Mustang. Would that be for sale eventually? I've always wanted one. You're a little too late. I picked up a 70 Mustang a couple weeks ago, brought it back from Pennsylvania. It's just, it's really just a shell. It's been stripped. There's no interior, no deck lid, no hood, no wiring, no engine, no transmission, no steering column, no dash. They just gutted this thing. And I bought it because the price was right, and then I sold it. I'm going to save the front fenders off of it because they're actually 69 front fenders, and they're like old stock fenders. I think I don't know if I have a picture of it up here or not. I thought I may have deleted it already. But a friend of mine down in Florida wants the car, so I've already made a deal with him. However, Nick, I have recently have been let's say offered several cars. I've got some followers on Facebook that in different areas that have projects that they can't get to. And currently I have an offer for two, I think they're both, 70 Mach 1s and a 69 convertible. And I'm maybe making arrangements on that down the road. Right now I can't bring them in because I have nowhere to put this stuff. So I kind of have a line on 270 Mach 1s. One is, they both had shaker hoods on them, or shaker intake air cleaners. I think the one had a Cleveland 4-barrel in it, and the other one had a Windsor. So I don't know. Maybe you can send me an email. We can communicate or talk about it to see what the potential may be. But yeah, I've got those two 270s, a 69 convertible, and another 69 Mach 1 that somebody is looking to part with. And I may, I don't know yet. I may try to do something with that. Oddly enough, I've also been in contact with somebody who has, I think it's a 67 or 68 convertible that they want to sell, and I think two 67 coupes, and some old Ford truck, like a 68 Ford truck. So, anyway, if you want to, we can discuss it a little if you want, Nick. I don't know what your potential budget may be, but I've got several people trying to get me to buy up their projects. And 70 is by far my favorite year. I get that. It's possible. James says, don't forget the holes for the rear window louvers assembly if being used. Yeah, the car did not have, but thank you for that. This car did not have rear louvers, the Cobra Jet. It didn't have the rear louvers, thankfully. I put those on a car before. I don't like that. I mean, I like the look of it, but I don't like doing it. Just didn't enjoy that. And he says on Mach 1 or Cobra Jet. Yeah, this car didn't have it either, and I don't see me putting the louvers on it. I mean, it looks neat, but I can't justify doing it. Robert says, Vert, yeah. And Nick, I'll take the Cleveland. Yeah, well, apparently it's got the Cleveland with it, from what I understand. Evan says, got to run. Cheers, everyone. Stay out of trouble and in the garage. Yes, by all means, do that. Nick, I'll keep an eye out for when it pops up down the line. Yeah, well, I would like to, if I could figure out a way to do it, because I don't need two Mach 1s. I really don't need the convertible, but I also don't want to do a thing where I'm just trying to flip them, you know. I don't know where I'm at on the process. I have to figure out what I can work out with this guy and whether maybe we can work it out to where I could get one of them, maybe sell two of them. I don't know. So I'm kind of playing with the idea of getting something. I wouldn't mind, honestly, wouldn't mind having a convertible. Only because they're not seen that often. You don't see, it seems like you see the 71 to 73 convertibles more than anything. It seems that way. And you also see, 65 and 6 convertibles. I don't recall often seeing a 67 or 68 convertible or a 69 convertible. It just doesn't, they don't just pop up. I know James has one, but it just doesn't seem like they pop up very often. So I kind of like the idea of the 69 convertible just because. Just because. But who knows? Who knows? I've got to figure out what, I've got to sell Jade. I've got to get the 70 out of here, rearrange some stuff. And who knows what I may come up with. James, great chat this week. I got to go see everyone next week. Okay. Glad you were here. Yeah. I'm about done for tonight as well. Pretty well talked out of everything that I want to bring up. Like I said, I will have a video coming up, part 50 on the Cobra Jet, and it's just gonna kind of be on a variety of things. I can't make a 5-minute video on something, and so it's going to be a bunch of segments of 5 or 10 minutes to make it all happen. So I have to get that edited down as well, and I'm also working on part 51 actually. So. Okay, so Nick, yeah, I need to hop off too later, guys. All right, we'll see you, Nick. And Richard is awesome show tonight. Thanks, Barry. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to head to the house and maybe get some ice cream. It feels like ice cream night. But I want to thank everyone for being here. Let me see if I'm lagging again. I want to thank everyone for being here, and I plan to be back next Monday at 7 o'clock, and hopefully we have something new to discuss or bring up as subject matter. But that'll be it for tonight. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.